What's up, fellow players? So today we're gonna review the magic spells, and it's gonna be super fun because magic has a lot of interesting spells that have combinations with each other, so it's quite interesting to play all of them together in the same turn, and thinking of what you're gonna do next is gonna be it's quite hard, and makes magic one of the most one of the hardest decks to play in Unchained. So the first card we have Lost in the Depths, where it targets a creature, obliterates cards in your deck with the same cost of that creature. For me, it's a 2-star card because the only advantage of this is gonna be if you're in the late game and you don't want to draw low cost cards, then you do that. Other than that, since it doesn't obliterate everything with that cost and below, then it would be good. For example, if you target, if you know that you have your good cards are 5 and above, you would target the 4 mana, and then everything below 4 mana would get obliterated in your deck. Then this would make a super good card. But if that's not the case, since that's not the case, it only obliterates a specific mana. So this is not great at all. Next, we have Ancient Text, which is one of the best cards in Magic for me. It's 4 stars. Because it gives you a lot of flexibility. It allows you to give protected to one of your characters, so it's either god or creatures, and it also can deal 2 damage to anything you want. It's really great to combo with other cards for that ward removal. So this card is definitely 4-star, thumbs up. Should be in every Magic deck. Next one, we have Dimension Door. Draw a card and reduce its mana cost by 1. This is kind of pointless because might as well run a draw 1 with another type of effect. So this card definitely needs to go into the 1-star because it's super meme. It can work with combo decks, but there's better cards that do this, like Warp Engineer and such. So this card is super bad, 1-star. Next we have Levitate. Levitate's quite interesting. I'm gonna have to give it 3 stars because it's not great and it's not bad, but it can work in certain specific scenarios where you need to deal with a super annoying card and there's another front line protecting it, or like they put a backline card that's ruining your chances of winning, and you can deal with it by taking its effect away. So it might be good in that case, but I haven't seen a lot of people play with this because there's with Magic there's a lot of spells and there's a lot of good spells, so you need to think really carefully about what spells you're gonna put in your deck. So for me it's 3 stars. Next we have Clone. Copy the lowest cost creature in your hand. This is for meme decks and for combo types of decks. So I'm gonna have to put it in the 2-star category, but it can be super powerful. Do not be mistaken about this. Even though it's epic and it's quite expensive, you can, for example, discount other cards and then you can clone this and you can do crazy combos. I've seen combos with this and with Mimic, so this card can be super good. But since it's super specific, super meme deck, I wouldn't advise you getting this card because it's not great. The thing with rating your cards is that you're gonna want to see which cards you want to buy to be able to have competitive and really strong decks, and this card is not part of it, so 2 stars. Next, Read the Leaves. For C2, draw a card. Basically allows you to choose a specific draw. For 2 mana, I think it's a bit expensive if it was 1 mana for a spell, because the problem, you have to think of this in the following way. Even though 2 mana makes sense, the fact that Magic has a lot of good spells makes that each spell, if you want to put another spell, the spell needs to be really good in order to be worth occupying that slot, since you only have 30 cards in your deck. Maybe if, for example, you have in the future archetypes where you're running only spells with magic and things like that, this card can be super good. But in the meantime, I'm gonna give it 2 stars until then. Next we have Erratic Summon. Summon a copy of a random creature from your opponent's void. Random creature, so that's super bad. If it was targeted, it couldn't be because that would be too powerful. Anyways, since it's random, I'm gonna have to give this 2 stars as well. Super bad. Next we have Magic Inks. Create a base copy of the lowest cost spell in your hand. This can be super powerful, even though you can just run another spell. Basically, this is giving you an opportunity. It can also work with spells that in which you need a lot of copies of it, and 2 copies of it in your deck are not enough. So you would run magic inks with it to be able to do some sort of combo, some sort of mechanic. But since it's mostly focused on that type of things, I would mostly put this in the 3-star category because it's not like amazing, it's not running a lot of decks. Then we have recursion. Add 2 copies of a random spell from your opponent's void to your hand. I think this card is a 4-star card. Before, I didn't understand the power of this, but this card can become super powerful because, especially in the beginning, where they only have a spell, 1 spell or 2 in their void, then it's a targeted spell, and it gives you 2 copies of it. Even though you're losing tempo with the 2 mana, the thing with Magic is that it generally has cheap spells in order to be to deal with the opponent's creatures and stuff, so you're not gonna lose that much of a tempo, because then you can just use another cheap spell to get rid of the creature at the same time, and you're at neutral tempo, and on top of that you got two copies of a spell that's super good for you. So I would put this at the 4-star category, and since it's common, it's fairly cheap to get. Next we have 3 mana, we have equivalent exchange. Obliterate 2 cards in your hand, pick 1, unlock 2 mana locks, or draw 2 cards. If you want to ramp up super fast, this might be interesting. The fact that you obliterate 2 cards is quite a big downside, but the thing with Magic is there's cards that you can draw. This also allows you to draw 2 extra cards. You can get rid of cards that you think are not going to be good in that specific matchup. So this card is super good, even though I haven't seen this being played in a lot of decks. And the fact that it's the only Magic card that unlocks you 2 mana locks. One of the themes with Magic is that you can ramp up your mana super fast, but this is the only card that allows you to unlock 2 mana locks right away, and 3 mana is super good. So for me, I'm gonna have to put this at 4 stars, even though it's not used a lot. I think the potential's there, and people haven't figured that out. Then we have Chain Flip. Deal 10 damage to target enemy creature. At the end of your turn, your opponent summons a random creature from their void. This works super well if they have a lot of creatures in their void, and specifically if they have a lot of low mana creatures, because then you can be dealing 10 damage to like a gigantic creature, and then a smaller creature comes back. For 3 mana, I think it's okay. I think this card would be better if it was 2 mana, because I would compare this to Lightning Strike from nature, which deals 8 damage to a random enemy creature. And this is targeted, but still I would put this at 2 mana, because for Magic it needs to have these types of things. Other than that, I'm gonna put this at 3 stars, because I see this as neither like great or bad. It's okay. Next we have Beam. Deal 3 damage to target creature, 3 damage to your opponent. This card is gonna have to go into the 3-star category, because there's way better spells out there. Even though it does a lot of damage separately, I think there's better options out there to terms of spells that deal direct damage. Then we have Faraday Cage. Targeted creature deal 2 damage to each other creature. I would put this in the 4-star category. Pretty much every Magic deck has to be running at least 1 copy of these to be able to deal with a lot of the early threats that come into the board with a lot of aggro decks. And the Faraday Cage is basically the counter to that. And since Magic has one of the best types of a board, like, not best types, because I think that the best type's death, but the thing is that they have a lot of board clears and a lot of early board removal starting at 4 mana. So actually 2 mana where you can deal 1 damage to everything, but significantly it's going to be 2 mana. So Faraday Cage is going to be 4 stars. Then Endow Wings at 4 mana. I think this card is super underrated. I give this like a 4-star. It's super hard to pull it off, because you need to put it on a minion that has enough health, but then it's gonna give it words, so it's gonna be hard to deal with spells, and it's gonna give you a copy of random cards from your opponent's hand, and this can be super powerful because it's a type of mechanic that you would see in Deception, but then applied to Magic. Since Magic has so good cards, it can become super powerful. So I'm gonna give this 4-star, and that's it. Next we have Shadow Slash. Shadow Slash At 4 mana, I look at this as the same as Beam. For me, it's 3 stars because it's another type of damage card, but there's way better cards out there that do that. So I'm gonna have to give it 3 stars. Then Well of Power, remove a mana lock, draw a card, and give your guard protected. I was inclined to give it 4 stars, but I'm gonna give it 3 stars just because it's a lot of mana to commit, and you're only gonna be playing this if you have the tempo advantage, even though you're ramping up, and that's good. The thing is, I don't think the effect's good enough. Maybe if it was at 4 mana, it would be a 4-star card, but since it's 5 mana, it's not gonna be good enough. Next we have Rune Storm. Add 1 of each rune to your hand. This is a 4-star card for sure. Runes are typically overpowered spells. The thing is, you're only going to be playing this with when you have a tempo advantage, but there's also another thing that you can do, which is you can play Morgana's Grimoire and combo it with this one, and then you can drive the cost down of every rune down to 1, and then they become like outrageously good spells for 1 mana. So this has to be 4 stars because there's a lot of rune decks, and rune decks are typically super powerful in the game, so this works pretty much in tandem with those. Then we don't have anything at 6 mana, and we don't have anything at 7 mana as well in terms of spells, and we're gonna jump right on to the final 2 spells. The first one's gonna be the God spell, which is Magic and Burden. Transform each enemy creature into 1/1 red and change your God power to Seer. I think this is super powerful. The only problem is if he has a full board of creatures, he's still gonna have a full board of reds, and since this costs 8 mana, you're definitely not gonna be playing anything afterwards. You're gonna have to wait for another turn. If you're in a pinch, then this is not gonna help you that much, but it might be interesting if he has like 2 high cost creatures. Then I think after 2 high cost creatures, this starts to become a super good play because it transforms them down into reds. And I've seen that this doesn't work with it bypasses ward, so it's quite interesting. And then the Seer God power allows you to do targeted draws, so it's really good. So I'm gonna have to put this at 4 stars. And then the final one's gonna be Fortuna, which for me it's also a 4-star card, where you deal 4 damage to target enemy creature, and then give protected and ward to your god and draw 4 cards. I would say that this needs to have a higher amount of damage. I think at least 5 damage. I think 5 damage would be enough, but ideally 6 damage. Because if you can deal 6 damage and then all these other mechanics, then it's worth. Because typically you're at 8 mana, and you're gonna be playing like super powerful creatures, and this needs to be able to keep up with them. And the problem with Fortuna is that dealing 4 damage is not gonna help you at all in that type of scenario. So for me, it's gonna have to be a 4-star, but I think it needs to be buffed, and it could have the potential of being one of the top card for Magic. Okay, and that's it for spells. That's the review for spells. Next review is gonna be the creatures for the Genesis set for Magic. I hope you guys like this video, so make sure you smash that like button down below, down here, and answer the question in the description. And if you didn't, if you don't agree with any of the ratings, and let's find out why. If you've done amazing plays with the cards and you think these ratings are not great at all, and like some card, like some 1-star card or 2-star card is actually a 5-star card, let's discuss that down in the comments down below. See you guys next time. Peace out. Bye bye.